Story time with Duane Moore. Guest Alphonso Matthews. Podcast episode 1.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of my podcast. I hope I can be heard on this. Just gotta give a little background. So, my podcast name is Storytime with Duane Moore, and I don't know if that will stick. I like it. Why is this happening? So, even though I'm a remote student at USC at Annenberg School of Communication and Journalism specifically, one of the great things is we can come on campus and use this. I live down in San Diego, and I'm like, why not? It's not that I want to do a podcast just cause. So the reasoning for this is, as a filmmaker, I'd love to tell stories, but this is a low cost of entry, accessible for nearly anybody. And what I want to do is I want to invite people to come on, share their stories, and hopefully we can preserve them as well. So I'll have a story that I'm going to say here in a little bit. And I also have a guest right here that's going to do the same thing. And, the first episode, I hope this is going to be a good one. So a little bit about my guest. His name is Alphonso Matthews. We met in the Navy several years ago, and I'm just going to hand it off to him, and, he'll do a better job in introducing himself for sure. So please.
My name is Alphonso Matthews. I'm originally from San Diego, California. However, I have, due to, family situations and life, I lived in other sections of the country. Of course, me and Duane met in, I think it was around 2010, 2011, when we were both recruiters up here in LA area.
Hey, yeah, thank you. It's quite some time ago.
Yep. Seems like ancient history now.
I know, before AI. All right, let me start off with my story. So you can see I'm wearing a Dodger cap. To the side is a World Series one. I'm waiting for my championship merch one. Hopefully that comes soon. Game one against the Yankees, I was with a Navy buddy who had retired, and being in the Navy, you become friends with people, and sometimes the scheduling just doesn't line up. So he's out of the Navy now. He's east of here, somewhere in the City of Industry. And I said, you know what? Let's meet up. And we met up basically because I don't know if I'm segueing too much, but the Puente Hills Mall is where Back to the Future 1 was filmed. The south part of the mall, where the parking lot is where Doc gets killed by the Libyans, and Marty goes back in time for the first time in 1955. That mall has since been sold, and unofficially on the 9th of October 25th to October 26th, the morning of, there's just this unofficial fan meeting. So my friend and I went there, we met up, and it was kind of a weird day because, normally our days are pretty planned. And we knew we were going to watch the game. We also knew that we were going to go to the event. So we were kind of just driving around. We found a Buffalo Wild Wings. Okay, let's go in there, or let's stop, let's check it out. It's like, yeah, let's go for it. Sure enough, it was packed. So we ended up going outside and just watching it from outside, like in the parking lot. And it was the 8th inning. My friend hadn't expected to be out like that. He wasn't properly dressed. It was getting cold. And I asked him, like, hey, man, can we just stay out? And then it was like the bottom of the 9th. And it's like, this is the time that the Dodgers are going to score, right? They're not going to score when they're pitching. Sure enough, at the 10th inning, bottom of the 10th, Freddie Freeman hits a grand slam. I'm like, holy crap. I jump up, and the next thing I know, like, I was next to a car that I was parking. I'm like, I almost got hit by a car because Freddie Freeman hit that grand slam. And, as a Dodger fan, my emotions were just through the roof. And I'm like, did I just almost get hit by a car? Thankfully, I didn't. So that's kind of where I was that night. But I think few Dodger fans who saw the game almost got hit by a car. And thankfully, it didn't happen. But, that's just what happens. So that's my story for now. That's one of them. But yeah, let's pass it over to our guest. So I said, well, I gave a little background. We've known each other for a while. So you told me that sorry, you told me that many years ago, or just a few years ago, that you lived in Barrow, Alaska. And at that time I was busy. A few days later, I looked it up, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the northernmost city or town in the United States. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, Barrow, Alaska. It's formerly known as Barrow, Alaska. Now it's called Utqiagvik. It is considered the northernmost town, civilization, whatever you want to call it, in the United States. If you look at the map of Alaska and you look at the very top, that's where it is. The population, well, I can't remember the exact the number, but it's about the size of maybe like a small county.
Wait, what's a small county?
I would say the size, to compare it to, somewhere within, I would say the LA County, I would say maybe half of Inglewood.
Okay. That's still thousands of people.
Yeah.
So when I looked this up, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe people lived up there. How did that happen? Obviously, I know you were a teen when you moved there. You didn't decide to do that on your own. How did that come about? And were you excited about it? We're like, yeah, I'm going to Alaska.
Well, no and no. I think I was maybe 12, and due to family situations, mom and dad were divorced a long time ago. And then, through court procedures that I wasn't aware of at the time, they made an agreement that when I got to a certain age, I was going to live with my father. He moved up there for financial reasons. You can get a good job there for a good pay. And he was working on being a pilot, but, he had to build his money up, so he worked at a power plant up there. And he was living up there for like a few years, and he wanted me to go live up there with him, with the idea of, this is about time that that I should, live with my father and learn how to be a man. That was the theory. But
from just the outside looking in, I think if a parent sends their kid into Alaska, that almost sounds like you're sending them into the wilderness.
Well, they didn't think about the location. It was just the living situation. So he wanted me to live with him. Honestly, I didn't have no say so in it. So I went. I went from sunny Southern California to Barrow, Alaska. So it was a big culture shock. And the time I went, it was around the summertime. So if anybody's been up in Alaska before, it is an experience that you've never seen before, because you will find out why they call it the land of the midnight sun. Because at midnight, you will still see the sun. The first time I had to spend the night there, I barely got any sleep due to the fact that it was 2:00 in the morning and the sun was shining in my face. So that was an experience by itself. It was crazy.
What? God, that's just so many questions come in my mind. I guess I'll start off with the sun stuff. Like, when I sleep, I have what do you call it, blackout curtains?
Mm-hmm.
Is that very popular out there? Are all the houses blacked out at a certain point?
At that time, which was in the 80s, I don't recall that they knew what blackout curtains were. So it was just regular curtains, and you just had to adjust.
Holy crap.
Pretty much.
How did you get over that? I mean, maybe not over it, but how did you get
How did I adjust?
Yeah.
By first accepting it. First, I had to accept that, hey, this is what it is. And then it's just like saying that you're taking a nap in the middle of the day. So if you're tired, you're going to go to sleep. Just put the blanket over your face
God
and
damn.
go to sleep. So that was just a piece of it. That was a piece of one of the main things I had to adjust to living up there.
And what were the other big culture shock moments? I mean, you said you're at that time you're living in or SoCal or LA, was it
San Diego.
San Diego? San Diego is off the top of my head like the eighth biggest city in the United States. What happened, I guess, to your social life? You know,
Oh.
who were the people that live up there, and who did you like connect with?
So the community out there, the majority of it is the natives there. Do not call them Eskimos. They will fight you. They are called Inupiats. It's a certain ethnicity out there. They call themselves Inupiats out there, and they're big in their culture. They're big on tradition. They're big on family, and they're big on preserving what they have, even though they know they're a part of the United States. But they do their best to maintain the customs and traditions that they've had over centuries of living up there.
Now I want to know more about them, but you know, I was barely in Alaska, I guess, but I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Who are Eskimos? Because you know, we think of people in Alaska, automatically everyone's an Eskimo.
Well, at the outside looking, I do not got the details on what's considered an Eskimo, but all I know is do not call them Eskimos.
Not them.
Do not call them that particular group Eskimos. They take that as offense because that is the most common thing that we recognize Native Alaskans as, because we don't know no better.
That's almost like seems like if you meet a Asian person, as big as of a continent Asia is, somebody from Malaysia, they're like, "You're Chinese." It's like it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not Chinese. I'm from Malaysia or Singapore.
Or some people don't even think India is part of Asia when they say I'm Asian. They say, "No, you're Indian." No, that's Asia. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I got it.
Asia,
That's just ignorance. That's all.
Asia is huge. So at this point in life, you were a teenager, and you know, obviously, I remember being a teenager. You're big into making friends. You find these group of people. Were they accepting at first?
Oh, nope.
Or I kind of figured that.
Nope.
Wow.
So this is one of the things in little story. I went last Christmas.
Where?
I'll let you know. Last Christmas, me and my wife and my son went to Alaska because her mother stays up there now. And once I found out I was going up there, I had a friend of mine that I knew back when I was in junior high that was still up there. And once he found out I was coming, we arranged a time to all meet. So it was probably like 4 of us that all met up while I was up there. And it was 2 white guys, 2 black guys. And if you saw it, looked like a setup of a bad racial joke. But it was, the fact is that there was a point that we had when we started reminiscing of us all living up there around the same time. He had a joke like, that was the first time as a white person I felt as a minority because of, you know, it was I'm not saying all, and I don't want to put broad stroke everybody, but there was a good group that acted out in a racist way. I was when I first went to school, I was getting into fights because people was just calling me black dude and calling me the N-word and everything under the sun just to get me revved up. Tried to ignore it, got to the point I got tired, and I was like, all right, we gotta sit us out with knuckles. So I was getting into fights because of, you know, I was one of the few black people there. And a lot of people try to consider me like the token black guy out of anything, and I did not accept that. And it got to the point where, you know, I wasn't like an outcast, but it was at the time I had to fight for my position to where they had to respect me. So it was a lot of walking across the street from the school and swing on some people. It's for people to get the message. Oh, leave him alone.
Holy crap. Wow. So it's a mixture of self defense and kind of like establishing, hey, don't mess with me, which is, I guess, the self defense in a way too.
Well, it's more of it's the because at that age you're falling to a stage of first identifying who you are and figure out how you fit in. And if you're in a community where you can find people that you relate to, is a little easier. But once you get thrown into a whole different environment that you've never been in before, versus once again Southern California lifestyle, now you're up in your whole world's turned upside down to where now you're in the cold Arctic, and then you're dealing with a whole different community, different culture, different mind state, and then all of a sudden now you're figuring out what social status that you fit into, which you find out you fit in none of them because
wow,
they're going by stereotypes of what they see on TV. And they're using you as that center point of their stereotypes, to where now it's like you're not fitting in nowhere, but now you're defending your identity with a certain amount of group of people that want to see you as a joke until you show them that you're not the joke.
And that's tough because in the late 80s, early 90s, blacks / African Americans were portrayed in a thuggish way on TV. So if that's what people were seeing, that's where they automatically saw you and they're like, this guy's a thug, this guy's a gangbanger, from California.
Yeah,
right.
So, I was none of that. I was
damn.
But it was, the fact is, I ain't say it was like hard times, but there was some days where it was just like, all right, this is one of these days I have to stand my ground, because I never saw myself as a violent person, but you'd be amazed to me, I was amazed on how I was able to, instead of being passive, more being, not saying aggressive, more of I would stand up for myself more than I thought I would have. You know what I'm saying? I hate bullies. So when the bullies showed up, I was there to show up with them and say, if you want to go there, I'll go there with you.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw. But I ain't trying to tell you that, I had none but hard times. Like I said, I found a group of people where I could relate to, and we had, a good connection to where I did have good moments there. I mean, like I was telling you before, I had my first, I would say, friendship with the Filipino community, because I didn't realize how many Filipinos lived up there.
That's right. You were saying it was a pretty big Filipino community, and for those listening out there, maybe seeing us for the first time, seeing me for the first time, I am Filipino. Mm-hmm. So you found not only this I'm sorry, they're called
Inupiats.
Inupiats. I just want to say into it, like that, whatever.
You're thinking of the dome right now.
Yeah.
Thinking of Inglewood.
That's right. Where the Clippers play. And then you found a group of Filipinos. Obviously, that's not the first time you've seen Filipinos. There's a lot of Filipinos down in Southern California. Mm-hmm. How did that? I don't want to say how did that come about, but when you saw them, did you feel a sense of comfort because, these are a group of people I already know and I kind of see how they act?
It was more of we developed a relationship through sports, because one of the main things to do there is either you play basketball or you wrestle. So to keep myself busy and not remind myself where I was at, I got engaged with sports. So I either was playing. Matter of fact, my routine while I was there, especially during the week, like right after school, I went to conditioning. Was for basically for basketball. After basketball, there was wrestling practice. After wrestling practice, it was taekwondo. So by
What?
the time I used,
You did taekwondo?
yeah, I did taekwondo.
Me too.
Yeah, I used to get elbows and knees all over the place.
Holy crap.
But by the time I used to get home every night, it'd be like 7 o'clock at night, and all I do was get home, wash up, get ready for tomorrow, do it all over again.
Wow.
So I stayed active.
Mm-hmm.
But during those times, especially wrestling, a lot of Filipinos did wrestling. And one of my best friends to this day, his name is Robert De La Rosa. Shout out to Robert. Me and him got close because we started realize we had more in common. We like rap music. He liked to dance. I like to dance. We like graffiti. He liked graffiti. So it was just like, oh, we best friends now. You know? So we used to do dance routines on the side, whatever. And it was pretty cool. And like they had little school dances. We used to go to the school dances and do dance routines in the middle of the dance.
So what's interesting, just a quick segue, is you talk about these dance routines, and I know what you're talking about because I remember breakdancing was pretty popular in the 90s.
In the 80s.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
Nowadays that'd be like a TikTok dance video, but there was no cell phones back then.
Hey, we did the TikTok dances before they were TikTok dances. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was building those relationships with them, and then it was I was also in one of my classes that I had because they set up junior high just like it was high school. So one of the classes I had was a band class, and I did the percussions. I used to play the.
I'm sorry, what class?
Band class.
Oh, band. I
Yeah.
thought you said something else.
Yeah, I used to play the drums.
Mm-hmm.
And me, him, and this guy named Walter used to be in the back always on percussions. That's how Walter was a white guy, and that's how we became close because we were in band class together. So it became like, you know, another little set up for a racial joke. It was the Filipino, the black guy, and the white dude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we all clicked up, and we were pretty much. It wasn't no drama. It was more of just us trying to navigate, because we understood each other that, hey, we are kind of the minorities of the community, but I would say the majority of them welcomed us in. They treated us like, you know, anybody else. It was just those bad apples that, you know, kind of made the experience more difficult than it needed to be.
Now, just so I can kind of put this into scale, when you went up there, was it kind of one of those situations where, hey, you'll be up there for the summer or a year, and then come back to San Diego, or when you got up there, you're like, wow, this is my life for
both,
as far as I can see?
Both. So to backtrack a little bit further, when I was in third grade, I went up there for a brief amount of time just to get a feel of it. And I went in there in the heart of winter. And I definitely was in shock. I was like, "What is going on here?"
How cold? Negative 40?
It was extremely cold. It was.
Oh my God.
It was in the subpar degrees, and when the wind was blowing, it was even worse. It was my first experience of what frostbitten was, because I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I had to protect my face and my ears. And it was just like, oh, it's cold. And then when I realized it was getting too cold, I used to have to take my gloves and try to cover my ears as I was walking. And I only been outside for maybe like 5-10 minutes.
Oh my God.
But then when I came back inside, I was wondering why my ears were burning and my cheeks were burning. And then I realized that it was frostbitten because the skin started to get raw and it peeled off. So that's why I realized I need to dress a little bit warmer. But no one told me. Like, I was supposed to know when I got up there.
Oh my God.
But then but I know I'm all over the place, but on the weather side, it was a different experience because in the middle of the winter, you know how I said it was nothing but sun during the summertime and the winter time? All nighttime. you would get a nice little tease of the sun coming up. You'll see a little bit of light, but then it just get dark again within like an hour. So it'll be night in the middle of winter. It's all night, and then in the middle of the summer, sun be up and out.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's based on the position of the Earth.
Wow.
Where the Earth is at the sun.
So it's either almost like 90% sunlight or like 90% darkness.
Yes.
Holy crap.
Pretty much in a nutshell.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it's crazy where we at now. But to them, that's nothing. That's normal. So, but as far as I would say, the time I was there, it was a lot of trying to figure out where I belong, where I fit in, my identity. It was like, it's that adolescent age where, that teenage where you're trying to figure out your identity. They made it clear who I was, which I already knew. I was a black kid. But how they were trying to see me as, I did not accept, to where I was a lot of pushback. But then I found other people, that identify with me as far as how we related with other things besides race.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that was the beauty of it, to where there was good people there, and and we found that bond through sports and music. Because even when I was in band, we actually had a band trip, and all the places we went to, guess where we went?
Man.
LA. We went to Disneyland.
Oh.
We performed at Disneyland.
Wow.
I called my people, hey man, come back home. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, we performed we performed in 2 spots in Disneyland, and we performed over in Long Beach at the Queen Mary.
Yeah, the Queen Mary's still there.
Yep.
Wow.
So it was cool, because it was just like, hey, I'm back home. But then it was just only for I think we were just here for a week.
A week?
Yeah. But like I said, the people that I build relationships there, and that's the beauty of the, Facebook, whatever, and social media. I'm still in touch with them, to where it's like Robert De La Rosa. Him and his brother, they both joined the Marines, and Robert just he retired a couple of years back
from the Marines.
Wow. As a gunny, and he's living up in Northern California, and his brother stays out here, and he runs a jiu-jitsu gym with his sons, and they some killers.
Man, so there's several questions I want to ask now. I guess I'll speak of the military piece. So, did you join the military out of Alaska?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking about the military. I was only there for like 2 years.
Okay. But they joined out of there.
Yes, they stayed up there.
Wow.
They and that was the thing. It was like, by the time I found my niche in that area, we moved. You know what I'm saying? Which part of me was like bittersweet. It was like, cool, I'm out this place, but at the same time, I left some good friends.
You met some good friends.
Yeah.
Now, our experiences shape our identity. How would you say those several years in Alaska, has changed you or molded you as a person you are today? Because for me, I meet very few people from Alaska or live there, and especially you're coming from a big city, this like tropical paradise in a way, and then all of a sudden it's like it's really cold and there's like a lack of people, but I'm sure, obviously, you being there.
It's called they call it the North Slope Barrow, aka the Ice Desert.
The Ice Desert,
aka the Great Tundra.
This sounds like Star Wars, places.
It is when it's cold out there and it snows for miles and miles. All you just see is just flat land of snow. That's it. Like outside of the town. It's just nothing but even in the water area, because it all freezes up. It's all just ice. The other side, nothing but snow. It's crazy. But as far as back to your question of how it, changed my views and my values. I mean, it expanded to where it wasn't so limited to what I know from, growing up in California, where it's just like I saw the value of family and tradition living up there. Like I said, when I had, from my experience, when it came to, meeting Robert, who's a Filipino, it seems like the Filipino community, they're big about family. Because, like I said, when I went to his house one time, I remember seeing one another Filipinos that was at the school. I was like, I know him. He's like, yeah, he's my cousin. What about them? They my cousin too. And I was like, what the hell? Is everybody here your cousin? He's like, yeah, we one big family. I was like, man, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they are real big about family. They are close. They stay together. They look out for each other, and it's big. Even in some cases, when it comes to the Nubia community, they're all about family. But they're big about tradition. There's a season called the whaling season, and they've been doing this for decades.
If I were just to guess, was that maybe during the summertime? I have no idea.
Well, yeah, when it's got to be around the spring, summertime when the ice breaks. It's a group of them. They get their traditional boats. They'll go out there to the ocean and they hunt for humpback whales. They find one. And the thing is, I know Peter might freak out and go up there and try to stop it. You can't stop that because it's not there killing it just to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
They use whales as a sense of survival. Once they kill that whale, they bring it back to the town, and basically it's like a special day where everybody in that community who's big on tradition, they go out to where the whale is, and they have a big old celebration. They start cutting the whale up into bits and pieces, and the whale meat is called muktuk.
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 Yes, it's whale meat. I tried it. It's pretty good.
Raw?
Yeah,
or
raw male.
Holy crap!
It's like this a piece of the skin, and then it's a real big piece of meat, and you just eat it like it's seafood. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's a different taste, but it don't taste bad.
Mm-hmm.
And they eat the meat. They use I don't want to be wrong about it, but I guess it got whale oil or something like that, where they use every piece of that whale for something. It's not like they just kill it and then they just leave it out there for the rot. And that's the beauty of it. It's just like, how, back in the day before technology, you got the hunters. They go out there, they find meat, bring it back to the village, and share it to the community. They continue that same tradition.
Man,
at least at the time I was there. I don't know what they do now.
I'm gonna have to look into that. That sounds really interesting.
They hunt whales and
seals
and caribou. Seals, caribou, and it's mainly whales, seals, and caribou.
My God, this is so interesting. These boats, traditional boats, are they rowboats?
They're made out of. I think they're made out of seal skin.
But
if I'm wrong,
I guess. Let me clarify that question. Are they pretty small? And is there like a group of them? Because when I see whaling, you see these videos. I mean, there's these massive ships, and they bring them on board
with the big old harpoons.
Yeah.
No, they. Well, at the time I was there, I should say, they kept it traditional. They bring in their own traditional spears and everything.
Wow.
And they try to keep it as traditional as possible without any type of technology to maintain that piece of their identity, who they are, which I thought is dope. It's keeping that thing going, and I like I said, it's just that seeing that showed me that that tradition to them is important, and then family is very important. And I didn't see that before I moved up there.
That's awesome. I mean, I don't know. I think that could be one of the issues when you're in a big city is that people are so busy, or maybe family members are working multiple jobs just to get by because the cost of living is so expensive. You may not get that sense of family or tradition, even though it's there. So at least that you got it, and that's I think that's just a very important aspect of being a human being. We're obviously meant to be in social groups. Man, that's awesome though.
Mm-hmm. It was, and I would say the biggest issue, and once again, this is more from experience of the time I was there. Don't know how it is now. That's my disclaimer for everything. Going from my time that I was there. The biggest issue I would say when it comes to the Native community is, alcoholism. It's I ain't saying it's bad all over the place, but I think they have and I wouldn't make it like major, but that's the only thing that's the problem, because LA got more stuff going on than they do.
Yeah.
But I say that's the biggest issue with alcoholism is there was a place that everybody knew where all the alcoholics were, because I would say like this, from the background I was at, not only my dad was up there, my uncle was up there too.
Oh.
And he got wrapped up in, the drinking lifestyle up there. And the infamous place where all the drunks go was a place called Mama Lena's. It was a Chinese restaurant, but it was a bar at the same time.
Holy
and
crap.
Everybody go there, get drunk, and start fighting up in there and taking out in the street. So it was infamous for all that, so where it became a joke at school that, what I'm saying, your uncle goes to Mama Lena's on a regular basis and gets his ass whooped.
That sounds just like a Wild Wild West, small town, one place to meet. Everyone is, getting drunk, getting rowdy, and a fight breaks out.
Oh yeah, that's what happens. But that's the thing, is just that's the biggest issue there.
Alcoholism.
Where here you went batted eye like, and what else happened? That's nothing compared to what happens out here. So if that's the big, I mean, it's not great, but it could be worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it was an experience. There's times where I used to I would have to walk in the middle of winter to one place and another. And like I said, that cold weather is no joke. And and like they don't have regular pavements. It's like they don't put any type of asphalt on the streets because of the permafrost, to where it's just like they can't put nothing because it's not going to stick. So it's just dirt roads.
Oh, that makes sense, because I've seen some documentaries about Alaska. I'm like, how come they don't have paved roads?
They can't.
They can't. I didn't know that.
Because of the permafrost. It's basically just cold ice right below everything, where it doesn't melt at any time of the year.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of, in a sense, it's like a big old block of ice that they're living on. But
wow.
But the thing is, it's just like when it does get like in that mid cold, but it's not freezing stage, where the roads are getting slushy. If you ain't got the right shoes on and boots, and it's getting into the into your shoes, and you get that wet cold, that is about the worst.
Horrible.
It is about the worst.
Now, I gotta ask about polar bears. It just came to mind. Have you at any point, you're like, hey, I gotta walk from this part of town to the other, and you're like, holy shit, there's a bear. No. Okay.
I didn't have experience, but they do have polar bear sightings on a regular basis. I did my best to try to stay inside as much as possible, but there's like 2 times since I've been there where a polar bear came too close to the town, and then authorities had to go out there first they try to scare it away, but if it looks like it's getting too close or too comfortable being in the area, they just take it down.
Wow.
Yep.
What is it? A compound with like a fence and like
What,
camera systems to town? Like, how would they know there's a bear
At
within?
the time, I
Yeah.
do not know.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure the technology is a little bit better to detect them, but I'm pretty sure it was just, maybe somebody was out on patrol and saw one, or somebody saw one and they called the police, say, hey, we got a pole bear over here, you need to come get it. So
Man.
it was the old school way. You see it, report it.
You see it report it.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people in my life, and they're all from different parts of the country. They all lived in different parts of the country, and at some point they're always like, I used to live in so and so and such, and I do miss it. To kind of end off the podcast here, is there any point in your life now, or maybe recently, where you're like, man, I know I was young when I lived there, but I do miss living there, or like I would like to go back at some point, or
Have I had that thought?
yeah, have you had that thought? Does it even cross your mind?
Hell no.
Hey, it's about as honest as you can be.
Awesome experience, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't go back to it.
Yeah.
It's I mean, like, the only reason I would go back there is for the people that I build a relationship with, but they don't even stay there now. So it's good to talk about that. It's good to say that I was there, but as far as just going back just because I have no interest.
Yeah, that's understandable. And just to kind of wrap this up and give some clarification, we know you went up there with your dad. What did he do for work? I don't know if
He worked at a power plant.
Power plant. Okay. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
He was trying to be a pilot. Did he ever become
Oh
a
yeah.
pilot? Okay.
He's a retired pilot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he lives in Florida now, so it's big difference. But I would say, and this is the thing about up there, what I thought was cool, and I mean, you look at the pay scale now is different, but at that time, it was pretty cool. I was potentially, I was 14. I was able to get a job that was paying $20 an hour.
Whoa.
Yeah, but because the cost of living up there was so high, that's just like coming down here and getting paid like $10 an hour.
Oh,
You know what I'm
that's
saying? Like a thing of milk is like $10.
I didn't even think about that. That's one of the things that I know people that have lived in Hawaii.
Yep.
They're like, oh, the cost of groceries. I'm like, why? Like, I go to a grocery store here. It's not so expensive,
Yeah.
but you got to ship things over there.
Yeah.
Further than like any other place in the world.
Yeah, I
it seems
experienced inflation at an early age living up there. Everything was high.
like.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having some record inflation. Man, we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much for saying all this and opening up and kind of educating me and the people listening to the podcast. What an experience it was to live up in excuse me, up in Alaska, and especially that part of Alaska.
Yeah, look up Utqiagvik on the map and you get an idea. I want you to zoom all the way into it, then you'll get an idea of the size of it. And the current size of it ain't the same size that it was back then. It was probably maybe 15% smaller than it was at that time than it is now. So I challenge anybody who hears this, do some research, pull up. First, you can type up Barrow, it's Barrow, and then it's going to pull you to Utqiagvik, which is the same thing. And I want you to zoom into that place, and then you'll get an idea of what the size of the place was compared to probably where you live at now.
Man, that's awesome. I'm gonna do that when I get an opportunity. And thank you so much. Would love to have you again. I mean, there's many aspects of your life that we can talk about, but this is a good one, in my opinion. But thanks, and thanks guys. Hit the like and subscribe, I guess. So
Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe.
there you
Leave
go.
them likes up.
Yeah.